Sixth World! Slotted fresh from the most reliably biased source of the Matrix, the Shadowcasters network. And when we say bias, our bias is the truth. Allow me to introduce myself, the host that flaps in the night, the fixer with a heart of molybdenum, the shifty shaman with facts in his head and revolution in his heart, Opti. On today's episode, the not-so-calm before the storm, or Vitas. They barely even knew us. Just 1 year today, little crows. The year that things went from Drek-crusted to farcical fragging fairies. The universe is conspiring against everything good and decent in the world. I want to bring up what we talked about briefly last time. Remember when I said that the US and Canada had been rounding up American Indigenous / First Nations folk that spoke too loudly or carried sticks that were too big? Well, in January of 2010, the status turned the quo up to 11. Did you ever scan the trids about World War II? Nazis locking up subjects of their hate, primarily Jewish folks, in concentration camps? The US locking up folks of Japanese descent in camps? Nobody thrives or is happy while they're jailed. Well, completely ignoring the lessons of the past and boldly stepping into only where tyrants fear to tread, the US and Canada boldly seize all remaining Native American land. All of it. And you can imagine how packed the internment camps became once they placed every First Nations person whose land they seized into those camps. The governments claimed these camps were for re-education and relocation, but brain fragging and life stealing was closer to the truth. Now, here's where the babies start to cry and their mothers refuse to comfort them. On February 10th of 2010, India is privileged to discover a brand new disease that they dub Kali's Harvest. After it had killed 450 million people in India, the rest of the world came to know it as Vitas, or virally induced toxic allergy syndrome. It puffs up your lungs and suffocates you from the inside. The two-thirds world is hit the hardest. If they had medical care, it was Drek. If they had it at all, China, India, the African nations fared the worst. Probably the most chilling episode of Vitas was in Mexico City. The locals refer to it as terror time. The dead were just being stacked up in piles on the street. Gangs went around burning bodies and entire sections of the city with them. It was less than a year later that Mexico's government called it quits, and chaos was the order of the day. Texas received its fair share of emergency immigrants, refugees, if you like. But over in Europe, giant funeral pyres lit the sky with the burning bodies of the Vitas dead. In France, Vitas decimated their fragile economy, and all will to fight extraterritoriality went right out the window. Out of 14 million citizens in Madagascar, 10.5 million got infected and died. Everyone who doesn't die took off in a hurry, and Madagascar became a pirate's playground paradise. When all is said and done, Vitas had killed over 25% of the entire world's population, rich and poor alike. Despite his divine connections, even the Pope succumbed. In other news, Quebec seceded from Canada. What's that? Oh, sorry. Quebec seceded from Canada. Oh, and don't miss this. In the fall of 2010, amidst the chaos of Vitas, a little-known German company called BMW is restructured by Michael Beloit, which he integrates with Sauter Munitions and Krupp Manufacturing, birthing the new corporation that in good time grows into the Leviathan Corporation, Sauter Krupp. But 2010 was just the cover band, chummers. You don't want to miss the headliner that comes after. But that's that, little crows. If you've wasted another completely good slot of time with the Shadowcasters network, you are in a very small minority. This was the Neo-Anarchist Vidcast, and I remain your shameful, sweet, and sour shaman, speech slinger, subject, and servant, spreading seeds of sedition and sowing sleeper cells that seethe under state-sponsored sanitation and subversion of our souls. But all the little crows call me Opti. Enjoy your freedom. But frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Thanks for being here, everyone. You're the best audience there ever was. In closing, I want to give a handsome load of thanks to our Patreon supporters for making the vidcast possible. Words can't express my gratitude. You can stop by the Shadowrun Community Network Discord server and hang out with us if you want. The illustrious audio illumination was written by the venerable Marshall Parker and reimagined masterfully by me. Unity 88. The graphic design that frames my farcical face is by Taryn Davis and Errantry Designs. If you want to support the process of the making of our show, head to patreon.com/Neo-Anarchist Vidcasts. Throw some money at us so we can continue to throw our best at you. Pick up a hat or a t-shirt or a sticker while you're at it. It really does help us continue to do this stuff that we love. As a final shout out, there's a little itty-bitty company called Fragging Unicorns Games that myself and Mr. Johnson and a few other Shadowrun folk put together. And we've just launched our newest game, Subversion, on Kickstarter. Subversion is a game about community and rebellion in the cyberpunk fantasy city of Neo-Babylon. Now, I know that you folks might not be into cyberpunk fantasy as a genre, but I would so much appreciate it if you would just head to Kickstarter right now and check out our campaign for Subversion. Just one more way to support what we do. Thanks for being you, little crows. See you next time. One take! Woo!